No one moved. Do I have the right buttons clicked? Did I click the right buttons? I appreciate the button.
Let's get this party started!
Oh, this is gonna be a fun one. I have so
Yeah,
many
I'm
thoughts.
welcome. Sorry, I didn't even tell you that I was starting. I was too busy
I kinda
toning
figured.
down
I got
the
both of
music. You got it! Yeah, we're talking slip and slides, Anxious Spider-Man. If you mean revenge sex laws, then yes, you would be correct. Welcome to Talkin Sex with Jay and Dr. J. That's it.
We're very excited for today.
I'm very excited about all of this. And I love it because Dr. Jordan and also welcome everybody. Hello. Thank you for the raid. I love you guys so much. Thank you, Bud in the Coven. We love you. We love you. We love you. We are here to talk. I know that we're going to be talking about the pros and the cons of sex tapes, of revenge sex tape laws, of what happened with Pam Anderson and Tommy Lee, because Pam and Tommy is coming out soon.
And I'm so excited that Jackie was willing to do this with me. I watched the trailer because I love Sebastian Stan.
Yes.
And I watched the trailer and I'm just like, this is good. And then I was like, wait, I have so many reactions as a grown-up reflecting on this. Let's talk about this. Because we were young when this happened. Like, this was we were pretty young. Like, we were single digits when all of this stuff had gone down.
Oh,
and now as grown-ups who are no longer in single digits, we're just
No.
like, what the fuck happened?
Oh, yeah. And especially now, it's not coming out until February 2nd, but I love that you felt the same way about it as I did, because I am very excited about it. Again, I'm gonna watch the shit out of it. Yeah, man,
Yes,
and chaos, you
we're
ready
gonna
for the
watch this.
escandalo? Jax the Jacob, I told you I was dating, ended things with me, and I'm sad, but in the coffin, I'm so sorry. Fuck that Jacob. You remember? We were in love with the werewolf, and then we had to fall out of love with the werewolf, and that's okay. And I'm sorry, but I'm glad that you're here, and don't worry, and I hope that hopefully they don't have any incriminating photos or tapes of you. I say tapes because I'm 34 years old.
They're still on tapes.
There's tapes out there.
There's still
Tapes
tapes.
exist. But in the Coven, you do need an Edward, but do you? He's very controlling, although
Isn't he?
Midnight Sun.
But again, yeah.
Midnight Sun. Now that I'm reading Midnight Sun, Dr. Jordan, it's all... I'm falling in love with
Changes
him.
perspective.
I'm falling in love with him, Dr. Jordan! And I shouldn't.
Just read Interview with the Vampire and Queen of the Damned, and Lestat is so much better.
I mean, that...
Just fall in love
you're
with him,
right.
it's fine.
You're right.
fall
Thank
in
you so
love
much for
with
the
that
sub, turning left. Yes, you're right. I do need to read Interview with the Vampire. And on Bud in the Coven, you might need a Jasper. But it is up in the air of whether or not he chose to be in the Confederate Army or if he just kind of fell into it. But anyway... Lestat fucks fish. Oh, in real life, Tom Cruise. Yeah, no, Tom Cruise definitely does.
I'm going Stuart Townsend. Yeah, because Tom Cruise. No. Stuart Townsend, like Queen of the Damned. Oh.
I fucks with that. Thank you, Mr. Hap. I love this, and also Ken's love it. I released nudes of myself so nobody gets the jump on me, and it is... I have been sitting and reading. In fact, honestly, Ken's, I probably should... Mackenzie is the woman that we work with, and thank you so much. Ken's came out last night, and we were talking about...
You're talking about what's going on with, like, Rust, correct?
Yes.
Like, what was going on with that? I definitely stalk your Instagram, just so you know.
Oh, I
Just, like,
love that you
always
stalk my
constantly.
Instagram.
Constantly. I'm like, what is she doing?
I mean, I do the same exact thing to you, and I'm always just like, ugh, fuck yeah. Get out the real information, babe! Revenge sex laws, suck, though, Ken's, turns out,
Yes,
and
they
I
do.
had absolutely no idea. I'm gonna starting it off strong. Findlaw.com, putting this into the chat. If you are curious as to how much your state is fucking up on the idea of revenge porn laws, you can look it up there, because it talks about how the different states and what class charge, like what penalty could be when it comes to
what is even potentially an option.
Yes, and I would love to start this off by talking about I think we're going to talk about the serious stuff, and then we'll move into the more fun stuff. Like, how do you get a good sex tape? What angles are we going for? What are good tips for it? Because I've got a good amount, and I'm sure you do, Dr. Jordan.
Mm-hmm. It's one of those things, too. I was actually talking to my partner about this because he does cybersecurity. So we had an entire conversation about what mechanically needs to safely be done to record it, safe house it, guard it. We were talking a little bit about that, like, Apple hack that had gone on with, like, the Jennifer Lawrence and a few other, like, Disney celebrities. And like he explained, I tried to understand it. I'm sure he'll explain it way better, but he explained to me how cybersecurity, like, what hack was used to do that, because there was so much shit involved with it. So even just looking at the tech involved too, so we can have a little bit of understanding how to keep yourself safe with it too.
I have no idea, because it is how you can keep yourself safe. I don't know anything about that. As I was reading, like, as someone that is, I'm going to start this off strong. I have made multiple sex tapes. I've made, I've got a lot out there. And surprisingly, nothing has been used against me yet.
Mm-hmm.
I know a lot more now than I did then, though, and I wish I had known a little bit more, and I can't believe it hasn't come back to bite me in the ass.
Mm-hmm. It's one of those things that I think most people have some kind of encounter, whether it's photos, whether it's video, whether it's even just like audio recordings of certain things. I think a lot of individuals sometimes forget that there is a background for, I think, most of us, and like what happens if this gets out, and how we're afraid that it's going to get out versus the person distributing it isn't afraid. And that's what we're talking about, like revenge porn laws, of this is still an illegal action, yet the victims are the ones that are worrying about what would happen. It is again, very strange world that we live in.
It really is, and especially the ways in which people can, like, worm their way around the laws, because it seems right now that a lot of revenge porn laws are very open. And I think they do that on purpose.
It's laws. It's always open for interpretation.
So vague. And I was looking through the California's revenge porn. Now, I guess we'll start at the beginning of what exactly constitute as revenge porn. Sex and revenge porn. Mm-hmm. And it is really, I guess, obviously it goes state by state, but it does come down to something that was recorded. I think that, like, at least if I'm picking up what they're putting down, that revenge porn usually is something that can be consensually made or consensually taken, that is then distributed without one of the person's permission, or without both of their permission. But then that is different than, like, what is it called? Like peeping? Getting a peep on? Of people that are doing it without someone's permission in the first place.
Yep. It's the idea of the difference between a consenting unit doing things together versus someone recording experiences or encounters that they are not a part of. And like that's where some of the peeping and some of the like the old Porky stuff of like they're not called glory holes, are they? What's it like when you look through the hole and looking at people?
Ooh, like a voyeur, like a voyeur
like
situation.
A voyeur, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Which, you know what, I am definitely into, as long as it is done consensually. And I mean, even down to like the porn I watch. And Ken did say some states have struck laws down based on First Amendment. And so it's like there's as I was just getting more and more angry as I read through.
Yep.
Revenge porn laws.
Yeah, it's quite bad.
There's
like, what the fuck?
Yeah. And right, microscope guy, I've sat on a jury involving sex crimes in California. There are a lot of different rules in this state. And I mean, down to the fact that I did have, in the building that I lived in Astoria, in New York, there was someone that had rented out, they sublet out one of the rooms. And then I came home from work one day and the guy was being arrested. And it was because he had put cameras all through the house and also had in a bag, like behind a tile, a phone that would record in the shower, and he had sublet it to a young woman, and he was being arrested. And I was just like, there's a movie called 13 Cameras, which if you are scared of this kind of thing, you should definitely watch 13 Cameras if you really are scared. of it, which I get scared of. Like, and like Dottie Champagne said earlier that she said, luckily I have a very sex positive public image, so any of my stuff leaking wouldn't be a big detriment to me. But that doesn't mean I don't care if someone betrays my trust.
Because there's a big difference between you consensually releasing and autonomously releasing your own body and your own shit versus someone else doing it for you instead. Yeah. Whether that's your body, recordings that you have, your sexual orientation, the amount of people that are your gender identity, like the amount of people that have been outed or forced to be outed. That's not necessarily about sexuality, or that's not about like a sex tape, but someone doing something without your consent. That is the fundamental problem of all of this. Which the argument that a lot of people make is, well, they shouldn't have recorded it in the first place. That's not at all what we're talking about.
No, and that's not what we're talking about here. This is not a place, obviously, in our community, this is not a place to shame about sex tapes, and this is a place to learn and to grow, and things that we need to remember. Like, at least for me, as someone that, like, and someone said, Shelby Webb said, I had one guy show a friend my nudes, but as far as I know, that's all. And the guy who we showed it to told me right away and said he didn't ask to see them, he just showed them without prompting. And it's very scary to now create something with someone where you can be easily identified. And I do think, at least for me, with someone that I'm not too familiar with, if I'm going to be doing something like that, I don't include my face anymore. Now I am I'm in a relationship with someone and I do trust him, but you never know, man. You fucking never know. And I get scared now to have my face in sexual recordings.
And it's also that component, too, of, like, some of the deep fakes that are there. We're going to get a slightly conspiracy theory, so sorry for a second. The idea of, like, how do we ethically consume news and information? And is that, like, Photoshop is very goddamn good. And being able to look at authenticity and do people just, well, if I saw it on the internet, it must be true. Even if you're super duper careful, someone can still do something. And looking at how do we respond as a culture and as a people when someone's body is released or when there is a pornified image of someone to some degree too. And how much of it is literally just, I'm fucking curious. I am just genuinely a curious person. And how do we ethically say, I know I'm curious, but I'm going to squish the curiosity because someone didn't consent to this.
Right.
And where our own guidelines actually are within this too. And like, I don't think I've ever seen any celebrity porn tape. I don't think I've ever seen any of them because I'm like, from my understanding, all of them are literally done and not released appropriately.
I did see Randy Quaid's, but it did seem like he had released it like of their own volition.
Didn't not Tom Green, the dude who plays Screech. I know he has passed thus far, but didn't he he did porn? I don't think it was
Dustin Diamond. No, I think that he just did porn.
He did porn.
But I remember the Randy Quaid sex tape was a lot. They had masks on, there was a dog barking the entire time, and honestly, that's really what it was. The dog barking the entire time for the 45-minute long I was like, I can't take the dog barking. I don't know how they can take the dog barking. And
just, it was just put on mute.
But in the room, I was like, how are they dealing with it? I know that, I think they both had, like, Roosevelt masks on. It was something that was, speaking of conspiracy, but the dog's barking.
The whole time.
It was too much.
And it is one of those things of, as technology has improved and increased and is ease of access. And I think that's why, honestly, the Pam and Tommy series, I'm really curious how they're going to talk about it, because my understanding is the series isn't focusing on the sex tape in their relationship. It's the criminality of it.
But
and it's like from the perspective of the people who fucking stole the thing.
I don't understand is that Pamela Anderson nor Tommy Lee have anything to do with the creation of it, as well as the fact that apparently, now I don't actually know, but that neither one of them had anything to do with the distribution of the tape. So
I had to Google it.
Kind of just doing this to them all over again? I know that that's a bit of a stretch, but the fact that they are not a part of it, isn't that a lot?
Well, that's what you and I were talking about earlier. So Jackie and I were talking about the House of Gucci And like I think the Gucci family has recently like made a statement like abhorrently being like disagreeing with all of the House of Gucci stuff, and it is that piece of, if you are a public figure and had a public experience happen, how do you fictionalize it or non-fictionalize it in entertainment and media? Like, I don't know if Tommy Lee or Pamela have had a conversation about what their reactions are to this. I don't think that it had anything to do with
Thank you,
it.
Bud in the Coven. So much
Yeah.
for the gifted subs. Sorry, I'm
But
delving in
no,
deeper.
you're good. I got you. But they didn't have any. It was released without their consent. It was a stolen item. They basically got, from what I read, it looks like they got kind of bullied into signing a release in an effort to release it once so it wouldn't spread. But it was like the beginning of the internet, and I don't think anyone anticipated, holy shit, everyone is going to get it. They made no money off of it.
No.
They signed all of their copyright. They signed all of their rights away to it, which I think like public figures, it's different territories within that too, as Mr. Brennan was saying.
Yes, completely.
Like, it just changes everything.
It's very scary. And I also, the thing is that, like, you know, I know that it is the idea of, like, well, you wanted to be a celebrity. Nah. It was also, this is not the fucking same, man. This is not the same as you signing an autograph at a restaurant. You know, like, I feel like it's like someone broke into your home, and can you imagine, like, already, if you've ever had something, if you ever had, like, a car or your home broken into.
Something stolen.
And the feeling of, like, yuckiness you feel, and then on top of it, they took your sex tape to sell.
Yeah. Ooh. And they didn't even know. They didn't even know that's what they had. And I think that's what the series, I'm hoping, will talk a lot about, is that this was done to them as an after effect. Like, the robbery is one thing. Like, the robbery is bad enough. And the non-consensual distribution of something so private to them, especially with such a figure. And if memory serves, looking at gender roles within this too, Tommy was like, oh, he's got a big cock, and that's what it is. And it was like, oh, she's a whore for doing this. It's just like, how are we treating the different people involved in some of this too? And just perpetuation of those gender stereotypes within that too. I have a feeling they'll talk about this, in all honesty.
I hope so.
Yeah.
Because I worry that...
my love for Sebastian Stan is, I'm just like, I'm sure he'll do good on it.
He's gonna do a great job with it, I hope. And especially the kind of people that are like, that try to, like, I believe that it was Jennifer Lawrence that they were trying to blackmail her. And I know that there's been other celebrities that are like, I could be open about this. You're blackmailing me. No, I'm not giving you fucking it. Because, like, at the end of the day, you're most likely gonna do it regardless. So,
yeah, like, you don't negotiate with terrorists. They're always gonna release the shit.
Yeah. Oh my god, Shelby Webbs. I had my car stolen twice last year, and the second time was while it was full of all my dead mom's stuff from cleaning her apartment. On another note, if you don't want to see your parents' sex toys, have someone else clean out their bedside table when they die. Good tip. Thank you very much. That is a good tip for us all to remember. And also, likewise, which is why, I don't know about all of you, but I definitely, like, my best friend Madeline knows, it was like, the second you hear of my death, you will get on a plane and you will get here and you will go through you will take my computer, you will go through, like, she knows where all of the things of where I don't want anyone else to see it. It's like, and you will go through all of it and you will get rid of it. And we do it for each other.
All the things. I have a list.
Ooh, I should have a list. And their sex closet. Yeah, both of High Priest Plane and Extra Spider-Man. The closets, very, very, very terrifying. The closets are so scary, yeah. Oh no, and whoops, oh no. See, this is also a part of what we're talking about. The biggest thing I learned when my dad died was having someone else go through their phone. Do not go through their pictures. But this actually goes hand in hand with us talking about sex tapes and sexy pictures. I literally, a half an hour before this, was just sending sexy pictures to my partner. And I almost texted it to the girls' chat that I was also having a conversation with, which would have been fine, because they are my friends and I don't really care that much. But part of you still does. I'm 34 years old and I'm like, whew, I gotta check. I gotta make sure I gotta remember who I'm sending this to, and even
Yep.
when you're in the middle of multiple conversations.
Or you have that fear when you hand someone your phone and you're just like, oh shit, please do not scroll.
Don't scroll.
Please don't
I
scroll.
don't think at this point, does anybody? I don't. If someone shows me something, I go, and then I ask if they're like, oh, you can go, and I'm like, which way? How many? Like, I'm like, you know what, you do it. I'll look from your hand.
I'll be right here. Yes.
I don't need it.
That is where we wanted to talk a little bit about like revenge porn laws, as well as like the notion of like taking photos and like taking nude photos or even taking sexy photos and looking at the reality of the circumstance. And as someone who does a lot of work with anxiety, the reality of everything is uncertain. No matter how much you trust the person that you're taking photos with, no matter how much you trust your carrier, no matter how much you trust the app, no matter anything, there is no guarantee that something will not get released ever. Is that scary? Yes, absolutely. And should that stop you from engaging in activities that you actually want to do if it's done with consent? No.
I don't think it is, and I do think that, like, I was reading an article earlier that was like, every time you record something, you watch it, and then immediately delete it. And at first I was like, oh, I guess that's a good idea. And then I was like, that also, like, I've got, like, a great sex video of, like, when Jeff and I had first started dating, and, like, I feel like that's the kind of thing of, like, sad enough that it makes me think of, like...
what if he dies?
Yes, or, like, in Schitt's Creek, when she's like, always take boudoir pictures when you're young. Make sure you've got some good... Or I'm like, this is a great video of the two of us. I don't know if I want to get rid of this.
Yep. Or the idea of like as we get older as a unit going, hey, remember that time we did this thing? And it's a shared experience with it too.
So I don't think I agree with that, but I do think it is. Because I want to say, oh, it's a good idea if you don't know someone too well, but you really never fucking know.
This also requires a certain degree of tech savviness too, and this is what Rich and I were talking about. How do you ethically and safely even fucking record something? Like I know that there was a movie with Cameron Diaz years and years ago called Sex Tape, that they're like sex tape got like put on the cloud or something. There is my understanding of tech, and I'm very limited with tech.
That's what Sarkfarts just said. Yeah, so that like my issue is phones have clouds and backups that most people don't even know about, so it's stuff to be sure they're gone. So what in fact someone asked earlier about Wayward Weasels asked, does anyone have any good apps that you can lock phone, like is there app, like what? I don't know about these things.
I asked Rich about this, and he explained it in much more depth, and I'm sure he will explain it again more in depth. But even just the fundamental, he's like, turn your network off, turn your phone on airplane mode so it's not connected to any network, so it can't accidentally upload. Just by doing that adds an extra layer of security. Making sure that you're storing it somewhere that maybe has no internet connection. But just that fundamental of turn it on airplane mode before you record shit, because it means that you can't have it get accessed and kind of put automatically in the cloud. I'm like, oh, that's helpful. Most people don't know how the fucking cloud works.
I don't know how to do it.
I don't know how any of this works.
I don't know how to do it. And Shelby Webbs, this is another great question. What does everyone think the etiquette of deleting exes' nudes? I never keep them past the point of seeing them, but I am 1,000% a few of my exes have mine. I feel exactly the same way. And at least for me, I don't know if this is even good advice. I just say, Jackie, you are as good of a person as you can be. And you try to manifest positive energy. And hopefully that's enough. And that's not enough. But in my brain, that's enough.
It also raises a piece too, and I'm going to add this little sprinkle in because this is something I think is really fascinating. How many people had like nudes taken, depending on your age range, whether it was with Polaroids or the old like clicky cameras versus modern ones, that you were taking as a form of intimacy in those things when you were younger and young and underage. Get fucking rid of those. Burn them, destroy everything, because it's technically child porn, even if it's your own body. That is like my big emphasis. If you have anything of when you were younger or your previous partners were younger, even if it's nostalgia, just get rid of everything, burn it. If there's an underage ex or your own body, burn it, get rid of it 100% right now. Like I will be very, very adamant on that.
Yes.
Because like we have laws right now, not just related to revenge porn laws, but we have very open-ended laws right now with underage material. If an underage person sends a picture of their own body consensually to another person consenting, it's possession and distribution of child pornography.
Yes.
That's how most of the laws are written. They're very black and white about that right now.
And
get rid of all of the shit.
Get rid of all of it. And Ken's also said, and even if you were both minors at the time, it is still. Yes,
it is.
Which honestly, you know what? Like, I'm fine with it. I think it's great. I think it's actually, like, it makes me feel kind of safe of, like, I've talked to my 15-year-old niece about this, and she's like, why did I take a picture of myself? And I was just like, okay, you're not there yet, but you're gonna be there at some point, and I think that it's good that you feel that way. Yeah, and I understand, and I understand that also with young people, and also people of all ages, like, send me a picture, send me a sexy picture, but if you're under the age of 18, you cannot, and I think that's great.
Mm-hmm. And that's my name B, so I talk about, like, Snapchat. No, Snapchat keeps everything on their servers. That shit don't go away. It's never gone. Like, we've had police departments bust people because of utilization of Snapchat. Because everything stays on the server.
Whoa.
You can't access it, but anyone else can.
Whoa, I didn't know that.
Anyone who has access to that.
Also, Abe McNeil said, I took some underwear pictures on a digital camera years ago for my boyfriend, and my boyfriend's friend took the camera from him and set the pictures as his family computer background. Every one of our friends who went into his house saw me trying to look cute in underwear, and I've never tried to be sexy for a camera since, because that's also part of the problem. It is very vulnerable to take pictures, to record yourself in any way, and then when someone breaks trust like that shit runs deep.
Yep. Because it is an indication of people are capable of doing some fucked up shit. And
yes,
there's no way of knowing for sure that someone wouldn't do that, even accidentally. And some people are going to do it intentionally, because some people are dicks. We know that.
Yeah.
And there's no way to guarantee that.
Whoa, but in the coven, my friend's 21-year-old brother asked 17-year-old me to send him something sexy. He was also engaged at the time.
Mm-hmm. What is that movie? Was it Crazy Stupid Love? When she sends a bunch of nudes to, like, a 14-year-old and shit as, like, a gift, like a graduate, like a gift or something?
Oh, what? I don't know.
Isn't that I swear I'm not making this
Again
up.
Says yes. Yeah, that is insane.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's just like, no. Oh, she sends it to Steve Carell. Yeah. And I think, like, isn't she underage? Or, like, she, like, ends up sending it to, like, his kid or I don't even know.
Oh my god. I'm proud of you, Bun in the Coven. I didn't fucking do it. Fuck him. Love that response.
Mm-hmm.
But Whoops No says it helped my 9-year-old understand that it's a crime. I'm grateful for it, if no other reason, that the kids have a firm reason to say no when they want to say no. No, it's a crime is something I never thought I could say as a kid, and something that I'm glad we're raising our kids to say when they need to find resolve. I'm so high, man. How deep we gonna get? Fuck yeah. No, we can get this deep. I mean, because you're right. It is a good reason to say no, especially, like, as a kid, that putting them, like, of right and wrong, and honestly, even just getting into the idea of, like, someone was like, do you want me to find out about it? Do you want the cops to come? I like the idea of just putting the fear of, like, the cops will come if you do it. But maybe I just needed that kind of fear.
It also raises a bit of an issue to some degree, and this is, again, we're going, like, slightly more into, like, adolescence, but, like, unsolicited dick pics. What if you get, like, as a 17-year-old person, you get an unsolicited dick pic by another 17-year-old? You're now in possession of child porn. Get rid of that shit. So it's also raising a bigger issue, too, of not just that you're sending an underage body to someone that already is a crime, but now you are basically, like, not soliciting, but, like, you're, what's the fucking term? Like, making someone else part of a crime, too?
Oh, is it not soliciting? Incriminating.
Incriminating, thank you. Yeah, like, you're doing that to someone else.
Sorry, I was just reading Kenz's thing. A male classmate tried to blackmail her with the child porn bit, knowing I had them of my boyfriend I'm assuming when you guys were both underage, which is also then, that's another way of just, I feel like there's so much of it when it comes to young people of like, oh, well, like, show me you don't have it then. Like, I feel like it's that kind of thing too, where you're like, no, I'm not going to show you
Yep.
anything. But the idea of then you never, ever, ever do it is not, I feel like it's the same thing as saying abstinence is the only way to not get pregnant. There's no reason to say that.
And that's why we talk about these things, is let's talk about how this is a thing. Let's educate. Let's make this part of the discussion. And especially with like sending illicit photos is part of modern courting for the most part. It's not this absurd out of the norm thing. It's pretty common. I know a bunch of people have pictures of my boobs and other body parts. Like I can name all of them who they are, but I know who has them. Like I know who has them, but they got some. My face isn't in most of them, but my tattoos are in some of them. So it's being able to look at that too, of it's awareness of this as a part of courtship. To say, well, just don't do it is victim blaming. Do it, but do it informedly. Do it educatedly. Recognizing that just like having, sex with someone doesn't guarantee that they're not going to do X, Y, Z either. This is pretty much the same thing. And it's good that we do have certain states that have certain regulations with it, but trying to fucking prove it and the lawyer fees and finding someone who's a specialist, like it is just such a mess for so many people. And knowing that we already live in a rape culture, most people aren't going to believe people who have this happen. So it is a lot of that perpetual systemic issue of why even bother reporting it.
Yes. And Bud in the Coven, thank you. Never shame someone for sending sexy pics, just like never shame someone who doesn't want to send pics. And that's a great thing to say, because then there's also the idea, because like that comes down round full circle into blaming, I guess, is that then you like, it is also victim blaming, because then it's like, oh, why not? Oh, come on.
It's coercive at that point.
Yeah, it's cyberbullying too, which like that also like it all wraps up into cyberbullying as well as like and like sexting laws and things like that. Of like it is such a. In fact, Ken's brought it up before of like the First Amendment, where it is such a, I'm assuming, a fine line, because like what if someone is being harassed via text by someone that is either asking for pictures or receiving pictures that they don't want. And I pulled up this like map of cyberbullying and the sexting laws. I might be the only one that is curious about this. I just put it in chat because you can roll over which state has different, like, do they have a sexting law? Does it include minors sending? Does it include minors receiving? And is there a revenge porn law? Now these are very basic guidelines, but very surprised that the answer is yes to all of these in Florida. I always immediately go to look at Florida first because I feel like it's so backwards, but at the same time, cyberbullying is a huge issue. I know it's a huge issue everywhere, but I'm kind of surprised that Florida has all those laws. Lord knows how general the laws are or how much that they can be enacted, but I'm happy that they do.
And the concern too is who is in charge of writing the laws? Who is in charge of defining what is what and what is porn? There was that legislation, or that individual in politics that this was decades, I think this was before even we were born at this point, of like, well, how do you know it's porn? I'll know it when I see it. Like using subjectivity to define, well, what actually is porn? Like we live in a culture right now that you put a female presenting chest on the internet and the nipples get censored, but you put a male presenting person on the internet, their chest and nipples don't get censored. Like, but if they're underage, but does that mean that that's still underage porn though? If they're underage, like there's just so many different layers and pieces connected to it and interpretation of it. Not to mention, are we even, like, what do people consider certain things within that too?
Yes.
Justice Stewart.
And also then we, over on page 7, we talked last year a lot about, in fact, Ken's did it with us, about Britney Spears and what Britney Spears went through. And part of, like, this Paris Hilton revolution right now that she is going through, which it is very cool to watch. It's like remembering in 2004 that without her consent, her ex-boyfriend released that sex tape that happened to be around the time that The Simple Life was coming out. So everyone just assumed that she did it.
It was for press. That's the reason. Like the Kim Kardashian one, too, with what, Randy? Not Randy. Ray J?
Ray J, yeah,
Brandy,
with Ray J.
Ray J, Brandy's brother. I just know he's Brandy's brother. That's all I know.
Yeah.
Like, within that, too. And people thought, like, Chris released it.
Yes, oh my
And
God,
like,
Shelby Webb's, yes.
Like, y'all realize that, like, Paris Hilton and Kim Kardashian were best friends. So you get access to one, access to another isn't that hard either, too. And having people release certain things and looking at how did we treat these people when this happened?
And how we
Pamela
treated
Anderson,
them.
how bad it was. It was terrible. And that's why I'm hoping that the Tommy and Pam movie, or Pam and Tommy movie, like, series, will talk a little bit about, like, what the fuck did this culture do to these people, and particularly these women, where this shit was all released without consent. Released without consent.
Especially in a way when people are like, but did they not have consent? Like, are you sure they didn't consent? At the time period, I feel like that wasn't the way, like, yeah, everyone was talking about them, but that wasn't the kind of attention that, like, regardless of whatever Kim Kardashian does now, you know, for her money and like, what she's created and what she's built, and same with Paris Hilton, has nothing to do, like, your content and who, like, and what you make has nothing to do with a private tape that was made when you consented, when you didn't consent to it being put out. That, yeah, sure, your name could be on everybody's lips, but, like, it's not all press is good press in the early 2000s. It wasn't. I can't imagine.
And we're still having this happen, like, with, like, Jennifer Lawrence and Vanessa Hudgens and, like, a lot of these things. Like, this shit is still happening, and the instantaneous is, well, they shouldn't have taken it. Or, well, did they really have it just get leaked, or have it get leaked, or did someone release it? The fact that we're even questioning it and not talking about, like, this is fucked up, you know that? Like, this is fucked up.
Yes. And also I think Ken's has really taught me a lot of, like if you can prove something, because Ken just said, like, imagine if this shit was happening in person, someone stealing a view through the window, you'd get immediate charges. But now we also know, like, if you can prove that they were there without your consent, if you can prove that, like, this wasn't done with your own consent, I feel like that's what's so scary. It's so scary of it, of, like, how can you prove that Paris Hilton consented with the release of that tape? You can't.
You can't. And it's just that question too of, like, with public figures in particular, it is that idea of how much of, you know, trial by public opinion. People didn't like Paris Hilton. People didn't really know who Kim Kardashian was. People loved Pamela Anderson in the 90s. So many people paid for that tape and saw it. So many fucking people did. And looking at, it's not necessarily that there's a demand for it, but people are going to look. And the more we're like, you do realize this is actually not ethically made. How aware people actually are of that. And then also, I think I saw someone say, like, everything was on Twitter, how hard it is to actually stay away from some of this too if you are on the internet. Like, people will be like, hey, here's this thing. You're like, I didn't want to see that. Why are you just now sending it to me too? Yes. I think there was, who was it? Orlando? I'm please correct me if I'm wrong. Was it Orlando Bloom that accidentally
that was
released
naked when he was naked on the thing that was, yes.
Yep. No. Like,
oh
it
no,
was
of his dick.
On the stick. Yeah, he, like, posted on his stick. He was like, "Oh shit!"
Was it Chris? It was one of the Chris's, right?
Was it one of the Chris's?
It was one of the Chris's. I don't know if it was Captain America. I'm bad. They all look like the same white.
Was it? Yeah. Was it Chris Evans?
Chris Evans.
I think it was Chris Evans. It was Captain America. I feel like some of them, like, there's just been a few, it's like accidentally being like, "Holy crap, that's my penis," and so many people were like, "I want to see," and it was like an accident. Not with consent, and, like, how people were like, well, I'm going to Google it too.
But I do also, though, I appreciate how he came about it, of, like, yes, I didn't mean to do this, but you know what, you guys saw it, I didn't mean to, and he tried to delete it, knew that he couldn't completely delete it, and kind of left it. I mean, what do you do at that point? The worst thing is that what do you do at that point? Like, if I had sent that sexy picture to my gal pals, I know that they're not going to post that picture anywhere. But what if you accidentally post it to a social media? I check 100 million times, especially with the Insta stories when you swipe over and you're going through, and I've almost clicked something before and I'm like, No, no, not that one.
It's like, shit! Not that one! Didn't mean to do that.
Not that one.
And Blood in the Covenant, it makes a good point of, like, what about the paparazzi? Like, how many times Orlando Bloom's penis has been photographed while he's naked paddleboarding? And now they own it. They own those photos. And
someone brought that up earlier, how that's so disgusting that paparazzi can own photos of people that they don't know.
Mm-hmm. And it is. And it's being able to recognize that no matter how safe you keep yourself, things can happen. That is not victim blaming. It is the recognition of the culture in which we live in, and how can we take the responsibility that we have for our own selves, recognizing that bad shit can always happen, and living within that uncertainty as well without blaming ourselves for some of these things too.
And also, yeah, Ken's, I think it's a big problem in the UK, taking nudes of celebs, and that is a big difference between, like, as someone that watched a lot of The Crown, the one thing that you do know is that a lot of the people, I'm speaking completely out of turn, I don't know that much, but I know that the monarchy owns and like is in bed with a lot of the people that run the tabloids and things like that, so that their pictures are not used. And America doesn't work like that. So then, in fact, actually, I'm reading this thing right now that was like when the fappening happened, which is the fact that they called it that, it's disgusting, and that a lot of the people apologized. They were encouraged to apologize, and Jennifer Lawrence was one of the only ones that said, like, I started to write an apology, but I don't have anything to say I'm sorry for. I was in a loving, healthy, great relationship for 4 years. It was long distance, and either your boyfriend is going to look at porn or he's going to look at you. I can't even describe to anybody what it feels like to have my naked body shoot across the world like a news flash against my will. It just makes me feel like a piece of meat that's being passed around for a profit. Just because I'm a public figure, just because I'm an actress, does not mean that I asked for this. It does not mean that it comes with the territory. It's my body, and it should be my choice. And the fact that it is not my choice is absolutely disgusting. I can't believe we even live in that kind of world. You know what, J-Law? That is a great... I thank you for saying it.
And that hack was a huge like, that was Apple had, now I'm getting into the point that I think I actually somewhat know what I learned from Rich about this. Like, it was done on Apple's platform because Apple didn't have a security measure that would lock a user out after 3 or an X amount of times of trying a password. They didn't have a number of times that you could try a password. So someone figured out, like, if you get the email and you can have like a password hacker, like a password hacking system, that you can just keep trying forever and ever and ever. That's how that shit got launched. That was Apple's fault that actually happened.
So what do you do?
And you kind of deal, like, Apple didn't get any shit for that. They didn't release anything. That was a hack on their systems. They were just like, whoops, this happened. And everyone missed that. And kind of looking at, that's why we got two-factor authentication. Like, they blame the users for this, and like, how do we have different ways of regulating it? And that is where the more we talk about why did this happen in the fucking first place versus, well, they shouldn't have taken the photos in the first place. Let's talk about the security hack within some of that too. I hope I explained that correctly.
And just so many different people that have had these things, and this is just celebrities that we're talking about. And unfortunately, Tay Oliver earlier said, my abusive ex took a video of us having sex without my consent and would coerce me into sending nudes all the time. Now I can't send them at all. I'm so scared that he'll post them, but we aren't celebrities, so I guess you got that going for. I got that going for me. No, you don't. I'm so sorry that you're going through that. It doesn't matter whether you're a celebrity or not. It fucking is horrible. It's horrible that you feel like someone has control over an aspect of your life or an aspect of your body that you do not want to be released. That is horrible no matter who you are. And I mean, of course, in my brain, I'm like, I want to find this person and I want to pulverize them, and I can't do that. I wish I could at least take their phone and destroy it, but the clouds. So so what is it? So there's like different, I know that there's things to put, like VPNs. I have Jeff put VPNs on my computers. I don't know what that means. I have them. I have VPNs on my computers. I don't know what it means. Is there VPNs for the phone?
Well, VPNs can essentially, your phone can connect to a VPN. So a VPN essentially is just basically tricking whatever, if it's a phone, a tablet, a computer, it's basically tricking it into thinking it's in a different location, thinking it's a different country. So it's like pinging off of a different tower. Oh, I hope I'm explaining this correctly. I listened to Rich talk about this all day, and I hope I get it right. So a VPN basically says that you're basically, your phone is in Australia, even though you're physically in Cali at that point.
Thanks, McNeil.
I don't know how helpful that's
I feel like we sound like boomers and you're yelling about the clouds and the pesky picture devices.
I still don't know how it works.
Yeah, well, I record myself fucking all the time. Not all the boomers do that. That's cool. I'm young.
So there are some things that you can do, but I think being connected to the internet at all is somewhat risky.
Jackal Party says that's absolutely correct, though. So we got something going for us. Is that an NFT?
Okay, those I don't understand. I barely understand Bitcoin. I cannot understand.
Jackal Party
NFT.
says you beam your signal through other network hosts, so it pings it around. Yeah.
That's one of the reasons too, where people are like, "Oh, it came from Russia." It's like, no, if you use a VPN that's housed in, like, you think it's in Russia and it's like in New York. Like, there's not.
Gotcha.
There's so many dangerous things in the internet.
I'm Technohazard. God damn it. I'll get all the nudes.
I don't know how any of this works. But, like, I don't think that there's an app for this. Like, I don't think that there's a way to fully protect, honestly. There's just not. There's absolutely no way.
Well, then this is a great question that Horace Backwards asked earlier. Didn't Hulk Hogan have a sex tape that got leaked and it sparked a lot of problems? What's really weird is that Hulk Hogan is from my hometown and his family still lives there. So I happen to know a lot about the Hogans. And so he was in the sex tape. He was having sex with Bubba the Love Sponge's wife. Bubba the Love Sponge is a big radio DJ out of Florida. I think that he still works, but I don't know. So he was banging his wife, and she was recording it. And Bubba the Love Sponge is the one who released the tape. Mm-hmm. Speaking of, this is a perfect revenge
example.
Great example of it. Of that it wasn't even the two of them, and they weren't aware. I don't know if the wife was aware that they were being recorded.
Mm-hmm.
And, War Machine, that is true. That's one thing I do know. Never use free VPNs. They are a scam.
It's all trash.
You gotta pay for it.
Mm-hmm.
But, so that caused a huge hubbub, and I think that it actually did help change a lot of the laws in Florida, because there's very few people they herald in Florida, and Hulk Hogan is certainly one of them.
Mm-hmm. And, ironically, I'm going to be super genderfied when I say this, it was a male sex tape that got released that somehow changed the law, too.
Oh my god, what a shock. And he didn't even have to apologize. Mm-hmm. I hope he apologized to his wife, but I bet that he didn't.
Didn't he, was it Hulk Hogan or was his son that, got in a huge car accident and killed someone? I think it was his son. I don't remember.
I would assume his son.
At one point in my life, I was paying a lot more attention to celebrities, and then I went to grad school, and then I was just on Tumblr a lot and doing my nails.
I technically pay attention to celebrities, but a very small amount of them. I would say 15% of celebrities I pay attention to, and the first 5 of them are Mariah Carey, and I'm fine with it.
Yes, I remember Caitlyn Jenner did that. And the sex tape, I think, is so fascinating because that is why we want to start this today. This all kind of started with sex tapes. This started with Pam and Tommy. That's where a lot of this shit started. But I get the impression that revenge porn and Polaroids getting passed around, even in the military, this was something that historically was encouraged, is send your partner away to deployment with nudes. And they encouraged sending lingerie photos, sending boudoir photos. That was a thing that got encouraged. And shit got passed around in Vietnam. That was a pretty known thing. This ain't new shit.
No.
But they were the first to have a video illegally get released as a result of that, and how they had to fix it.
It's also just so sad because, and even Regan Piper Rose said, I don't photograph or record myself in any aspect, clothed or unclothed, without the realization that it could go public. It's sad, really. And it's sad that something that is on paper, when done consensually, It's a lot of fucking fun. And this is another huge thing that people have ruined. And that when you think of someone like think about 15 years ago when you're like, oh, I made like a sex tape with somebody. People are like, you whore. Like, I feel like I got a lot of that of like, you're crazy.
Mm-hmm.
When it's really not that crazy of, and now that like young people, it is like you said, it is a much bigger part of courting than it was when we were younger, and it's so shamed when it is discussed.
Super shamed.
Why?
Well, sex is shamed in general.
Exactly, and because of shit like this, and because of people that come in and ruin the fun.
Yep. And that too, in the idea of demonizing the act of sex, and then especially demonizing the media portrayal or the possession or ownership of your own body, or even the idea of like being proud of your body and wanting to do that. There's almost this, well, they shouldn't have done that. There's so many judgments are there. I feel like we should just do all of next week just about porn in general, but like the pornification and the fact that for a lot of people that's super visually stimulating. Like, it's not, I'm gonna make it to look at my body. It's, I want to share this with my partner. I want to share this with someone. And also, when done well, it's really artistic as hell. Like, that's another piece too of like, if you got a good camera, you got some good lighting, you can some good angles and filming that shit, it could be really erotic for a lot of people as a way to boost confidence and a way to increase closeness. It's not just, oh, I want to see shit going into other shit. It's not what it's about.
No, because then you just watch porn, and it is about the naughtiness of it. Like, the idea of, like, oh, I shouldn't be doing this. Thank you so much, Grundy Crow! It is, like, it definitely adds to a lot of the sexiness and fun in the coven, but men never get shamed for sharing a dick pic. Like, especially now, at least, it is becoming easier for people that receive unsolicited dick pics to be like, bro, not in the fucking mood for it.
It's like, I
no,
didn't
thank
that.
you.
Mm-hmm.
And also, Reagan Piper Rose, you're right. My question is, why is it anyone's business? People need to mind their own families and keep their nose out of mine. And I love that. But there's just so many, it's like, you think about how many people, it's like, are you just fucking bored? I'll give you some work to do. I've got a lot of things that I need help with.
Yeah. It's to some degree also this notion of like a parasocial relationship with a lot of, like, I know we're talking a lot about celebrities today, but even this parasocial relationship with celebrities and feeling like we have a connection with them, either wanting to protect them or wanting to be involved or feeling like we have access to their lives. How many people feel like they have that with people that they've known or people in their interaction or just people in general feeling like, well, because it's there, I have the right to access it. Like, no, you don't. You don't have it. But the internet, in the way that technology has spread, basically sends this message of, if it exists, you have the right to look at it.
Right.
No, you don't.
And no, you don't. You really don't. And it, like,
you're making a choice.
Yep. And in fact, actually, even in doing this research, where I put in the phrase celebrity sex tapes, because I was trying to see, like, a list of the people who had been victimized, and I was like, what am I, 12? Jackie, Jesus Christ, like, I'm not even on the, like, the invisible tab.
Not even in private browser.
Yeah. No. I feel like, computer, you should know this by now. All of my computers, you should know this by now, and everybody listen up. If it's not in the incognito window, I don't want to see porn, alright?
Define porn, though.
Uh-oh, it's all across the board.
Yep.
It's all across the board.
I threw, because anything can be made, Rule 34 of the internet, anything can be made into porn. That's just how that shit works.
Unfortunately. That is the truth. But I would love to switch into the gear of talking about ways to make sex tapes or to take sexy photos that are fun. And
lighting. Just lighting.
Ew, don't even get me started on the lighting. 100% the lighting. You guys know I scream about it, I think, every other week, the fact that I've got the app light bulbs in all of the lamps in my room for a reason. It's the queen lighting, but in the coven, you know, we've got ring lights for a reason, there are filters for a reason, and lighting is yo friend. Even if, honestly, some of the sexiest tapes I've ever made are ones when you can barely see who is in it because of how dark it is, and then it's just the hearing of it, which I don't know, maybe that's just for me. I think that's pretty sexy.
Kevin Smith does a great stand-up. I think it's on either episode 2 or 3, like a 3 evening with Kevin Smith, that he talks about Jason Mewes' sex tape. And just watching Mewes' ass just bounce, it's like the most unflattering angle. And just listening to Kevin's diatribe about Jason Mewes' sex tape is one of the fucking funniest things. And just like all you see is just Mewes' butt just bouncing up and down and up and down. And he was so proud of it. It is hysterical.
And and then it's fun because I love it because Ken said, I hate watching anything with me in it doing sexy stuff. And I get that too. Same. I understand that. But I think that part of it, for me, is the making. Like, I need to make bits about it to myself to get me to feel better about it. I'm like, wow, look at me go. Wow.
I have
no wonder my legs hurt.
Recording. We went and did pole dancing, like a fitness pole dance. And at one point, the amazing instructor, she put on, like, she's like, this is the section where you guys can do whatever you want. Record yourselves in this. I have not watched that video because I'm like, I don't want to watch this.
Oh.
I can't watch it. And I was like, I can't do it. And for some people, how empowering that would actually be to take on a role and have that and being able to see it. So, like, how do you do it effectively with your consent, with the other person's consent? How do you bring that up? And I was talking to Rich about this. I'm like, do we have companies that will, like, it's very like Zach and Miri make your porno kind of thing. Like, do we have companies and corporations that do this safely and effectively? And if not, why don't we?
Yes, and now that, like, even Dottie Champagne said, I highly recommend getting professional photos if you can. A good photographer can make you comfortable and look amazing, and I very highly recommend that. But you're right, though, also, I would be interested in also then, like, if it was someone that I was comfortable enough with, be like, can you also record me, like, doing some, like, I'm not saying all the way.
Yeah.
But just so then I have it.
Mm-hmm. And, like, being able to create something like that of, like, highly eroticized content that is artfully done and has not necessarily a script, but has good lighting connected to it and has has actual angles. I think most people who make sex tapes, and I've never watched any celebrity sex tapes. I do watch some amateur stuff just for research, but also the idea of, like, you have to, like, hit the pause button and, like, move the camera and do different angles. And if it's just, like, one angle of just, like, shit going into shit, it's maybe not as artistic and erotic.
No.
But, like, how the hell do you film a good sex tape? You probably need someone helping you film it.
Selfie stick. I use a selfie stick, and I will put the selfie stick up, and then I'll also at times take the selfie stick and then use it in different ways, and then my partner will use it. And in fact, earlier, I think that it was Breakaway Bros said, I hate me on film. I'm like, ew, that's what you see, I'm so sorry. And I completely understand, but my response was exactly what my partner said, of like, yes, that's what I see, that's what I get to see. And that feeling of, like, seeing, like, my ass in the air up from behind and the angle, I tell you what, you look great.
Yep.
Anyone that up with their ass angle up like this,
it just,
you
like,
look
ups
great from behind. You look great.
There is literally a 90-second video that I really hope only that one person has, and maybe he deleted it, but it's just like, my butt look good. Good job, booty.
Right?
It just it's different angles.
It's different angles
things that you don't see. And again, it's the art. Like, there is an art form to this shit. There's a reason boudoir exists within that too. There's a reason well done photography exists within that too. And how do you do this effectively when everyone is over the age of 18 and has good security measures put into it as well?
Yes. But Dottie Champagne said, I know some folks in Toronto who will make your tape for hire. They're really professional. It's cool. That sounds amazing.
Yes. Send us the link. We've been looking. I'm like, who does this? And how do they keep everything safe? And how do they do that? Because also, it is like,
Abe McNeil, you're right, though. I feel the thing people need to realize that home videos are never going to look as good as professional porn. We don't have a camera crews and directors getting all the shots. And also, as someone that, like, I do usually watch amateur stuff anyway, so it's like, I feel like I see a lot more grainy stuff that makes me kind of fine with it.
Yep. And then you turn on the 4K VR porn, and you're just like, oh, everything is in my face. And again, technological advancements and what that does to body image and just the reality of what's going on. But like most cameras, like if you film on a webcam, like we got relatively good webcams, but if we tried to film some shit on these webcams are never going to be good. Everything is going to be grainy. It's going to look like 1994. That's just how it's done,
And
too.
honestly, a lot of it, and one thing that I will take from the article that was saying always delete them after you take them, one thing I will take from it is the fact that, like, it is for you, and a large part of it is becoming more comfortable in your own body.
Your own body. It's for you.
It's a confidence booster, and even though, like, and I get it, as someone that, like, for a long, like, in between, after I made my first one and I watched it, I was like, never doing that fucking ever again. Ooh, no thank you. And I looked at it, and then I realized, I'm like, no, I'm gonna take the power out of, like, I'm taking the power in this situation. I am choosing to do this because this is gonna make me feel sexy. And as someone that, like, I am into, like, exhibition stuff, I am into that stuff. So even just having a camera there, honestly, whether it's on or not, and we all know the cameras, I'll yell at the computers and I'll yell at the phone. It's not like you're not listening anyway.
They're always listening.
You're listening anyway, so it doesn't fucking matter. You may as well then feel sexy while they're listening.
And it can be used, we haven't talked too much about this as like a relationship builder too. For some people, this is something that can really be done for like long distance relationships, military couples, looking at people who just want to change systems up. What was that episode of Sex and the City where Charlotte plastered her face onto every single one of Trey's Playboys or like penthouses, of like had like all of her wedding photos had her head in it. Yeah. I'm not mad at the idea of like integrate the unit into sexualization and how erotic that could actually be, to make a erotic film together and have sex to you to having sex. Like, it's very meta with it too.
And also, that's my maybe that's my thing. I think I'm still accepting my mom body, and I also will say, especially with someone that is a partner that goes far away, sometimes I just record myself masturbating, not even on video, just the sound of it, and I will send it to him. And I think that that's also another, like, if we're talking about making something to feel closer to a partner or to feel sexy, and there are many different ways that you can do this, like recording just the sound. And we've talked about this on here before. I think a lot of us have like, oh yeah, no, I could get off to that. And if you could get off to that, maybe your partner could get off to that.
Yep. And it's expanding the definition of what is sexy. And fundamentally, that's something that we both agree with, is sex and sexy doesn't have to just be this one thing. And this, like, the sounds, the sensuality of it. Like, I cannot tell you how many porns I turn off because I'm like, ugh, shut up. Like, it's just terrible noise. Just the grunting and just like all of this. I'm like, oh, just stop it. Again, you need to watch How to
Theatrics
and have an entire conversation about it.
Love it. We're definitely going to.
It's just terrible. Like, just the sound is really important for some people, whether it's a turn on, whether it's a turn off. How to get used to certain things and feel comfortable with the reality of the body, especially during some of that.
Yeah. And Harris Backwards says, it's taking the shame out of it. It's that moment of, oh, I'm allowed to be sexy and sexual. And you are. And I think that, like, as our, whether you're in a relationship or whether you are single, I think that, like, our relationships with our bodies is always changing. Regardless of what you are going through, how you feel like you look, it's always going to be changing. And if there are times in your life that you're like, man, fuck, I look good today, take pictures. And I do that. I mean, a lot of times, like,
I do it all the time.
Yeah, I'll just take pictures of myself. And just be like, fuck, you know what? You gotta embrace the small, at least for me, the small pockets of time where I'm just
little
like,
shit.
Fuck yeah, I'd fuck me.
Yep. The amount of, like photos I have of my own body that no one else has ever seen, I don't send them to Rich. I just keep them like, yeah, I look good. This is nice. I like this. I like that. Because it should be part of it's for you. Yeah. But it doesn't have to be, like, we were talking about this with, like, lingerie. Lingerie doesn't have to be sexy, to elicit, to tease for your partner. Some of this shit might just be for you. And that's awesome. And
too.
Recognizing that because it's technology, because it is something that is permanent, there's always a risk. And even something like a Polaroid, unless you burn it with fire, photos, even printed photos, can be distributed.
Yeah.
That's just how it works.
Yeah, unfortunately. And it's a lot of trust. It's trust of yourself. It's trust of the person that you are with. It's trust of the person that you are sending it to. And,
you trust the platform that you're using to maintain it, too.
Yeah. And also put in the comments that that's literally the only reason I haven't wanted to make a sex tape is because I don't want to hear myself. Which also I would posit it to you that it could be like we're trying to get away with it. So you got to be really quiet. And like, I also, it's like of thinking of different ways. And I know this sounds silly. For me, I'm like, okay, I'm the director. All right, what do I want to see from this? And I don't say this aloud. I say it all inside of my head. I'm
it's
like,
all internal.
Yes, so it's like, okay, well, we're going to do a quiet one. Ooh. And it's almost like, someone's looking through a keyhole. They shouldn't be watching. And that's how I think about it. And then I get more turned on.
And this is like we were talking about role playing. Like I already hear like maybe you're more comfortable role playing than you think you are because that's literally you role playing as a director.
You're right. 100%.
That's how we explore it with it.
Yeah, you're right. And also Manic has play loud music over top, which also put on some 9-Inch Nails.
I wonder if that's a way to deter people releasing it, is like put copyrighted music on it.
Yeah, right. I'm like, you're gonna get flagged.
You can't get flat. You can't get access to that.
That's kind. Actually, it's kind of fun.
I'm curious if that's something.
Ooh, Ken says, I have a pic where I made my boob into a seal face on Snapchat, and then part of the comment just wrote, Ken's sexting tips.
I have a friend, I forgot, Spank, hey, he goes, I think it's Spanky Butts, I'll see if I can find it, but he does erotic art on butts and breasts and things, and, like, there's one of like, a Cookie Monster, with like googly eyes on the butt. There was one of like a peach booty. Like it's like erotic art.
Oh,
I think it's
I've seen that.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, I'm putting in, of course, my favorite bit of Disney music, which is the Lou Bega version of Disney Mambo No. 5, which is evil, and I think that it should be burned forever. But if you want to play that, if you can get off while listening to, I want to know about it. I want to know what your secret is. If you can come while listening to Lou Bega's Disney Mambo No. 5, I would be very impressed.
That works. One of my favorite covers is by Jonathan Young. He does metal Disney songs. Still my favorite.
Ooh.
Jonathan Young is my favorite.
Kenza really appreciated the seal breast picture that I just received. And I consented, so don't worry, I won't send it anywhere. Can you imagine me even being like, I've got a breast picture. I feel like my phone is the safest to have those pictures of, like, because of all this shit. Like, I can't imagine the negative cosmic bullshit of me being, it's like, with all the shit that I got in here, no, you gotta be a good person. I don't want that shit getting out anywhere.
The amount of boob photos I have on my phone is so many now, because after I got my breasts done, there's so many before, durings, afters. Like there's so many pictures of my boobs on my phone that are not erotic. It's just like, medically, look how cool this is.
I honestly, I was doing the thing for Fun Factory, which was awesome, and after we had quite a session using them, I took a picture of myself because I looked like, you know when, like, you get laid so hard, like, you have such an epic, fun session that, like, I looked like Cruella de Vil, like, my hair was out to here.
It's the best fucking hair.
My mascara was, like, all over my face, and I wanted to be like, don't you want to buy this, like, the sex toy that makes you look like this? And I was like, technically, I think that that's the best campaign that you could ever do. But I was like, I just started working with these people. I don't think that I can do that. I'm already trying to pitch to them, instead of doing dry January, why can't we call it sober wet January and push toys that way? So you see, I got all these marketing ideas.
Soaking wet January, we'll call that.
Soaking wet January. I know Pippin O'Henry would die. I think Henry would die. And people will be like, that's fake. Honestly, the pictures, it looks cartoonish. the good time that I had.
Mhm. And I think that's like fundamentally what makes me so mad about these sex tapes getting out without consent is it took the fucking fun out of it. Like if I've heard portions of Tommy and Pam's material. I've heard portions of it of like they did this on like their honeymoon or something and it was fun. It took the fucking fun out of it and kind of like put a black cloud or a gray cloud over something that was really exciting for them at some
And I
point.
was
How much
reading
does that
into
fucking
it
suck?
too, and like as they were going through the lawsuits and things like that, and of course I am eager. I'm going to watch the Hulu show as well, but the lawsuits they were going on when Pamela Anderson was 7 months pregnant, and they were, and she's like, I have to be up on the stand while they're trying to make me seem like a whore. While I am 7 months fucking pregnant. And they wanted her to go take the stand again. She's like, I'm not going to do it. I can't. I can't do it again. And like, I was watching, and then watching that interview of her, I was like, God, that fucking sucks, man.
Mm-hmm. And that's one of the reasons why a lot of people don't report revenge porn situations, or even report sexual assault or abuse, is because in order for it to engage in legislation, you have to take the stand. Like, that's just how it works. I work with sexual assault survivors for so long, and I get them ready. Some of them, I get them ready to testify in court where they have to write out and talk to a group of strangers beginning and end of their entire assault, and then get grilled on it. And then, like, having to ask questions of, like, did you have an orgasm? Did you get wet during it? Well, obviously. And, like, how fucked up the legislative system is. And simultaneously recognizing we don't really have other ways of dealing with it.
No.
At least we don't have any better ones, unless we can find magic to exist in, like, Veritas serum of, like, actual truth serum would be really handy right now.
Yeah, it fucking would, because that kind of, and I mean, not even to get into the fact of, like, how many sexual assaults are not reported because
for that reason.
And many of the other reasons of how people are treated. And, you know, I know that I got into that of bringing a friend of mine who had just been raped and bringing them in, and it got to such a point that we left because they were just like, and you were drunk. And because we were 18 and at a college party, and yeah, we were drunk. And so then they wouldn't continue the process in Tallahassee, Florida. And I'm like, does that mean it's not a fucking... We're not getting... I'm sorry. Now I'm going to get...
Yeah, that's a
I'm going to get so mad. I'm going to yell at the computers again.
But it's a part... It's a part of it. Like, we talk about Pam and Tommy. Like, it is literally a violation. Like, it is 100%. Like, they made her stand... Like, they made both of them stand and give a deposition about this and explain what ended up happening. And it's just like, motherfuckers, like, something was stolen, released without their consent. They tried their fucking best. I had to Google this because I was like 7 at the time. Like, they were like, well, like, they were told by lawyers and by experts of, like, better to give people consent to release it then. Better to sign off so you can at least make a little bit of money off of it. And it's just like, but they didn't want to, like... And they stood their ground. They never made anything from it. Not a single cent. Like, they signed all of the rights away to it.
All of it. And then, but I guess that's why it does make me feel a little yucky that this fucking show doesn't have their input in it. Why aren't they involved in it then?
And that's the thing is, like, did they want to be involved?
Seth Rogen, because it's Seth Rogen who's in it and whose production company is making it. Why aren't they a part of it?
And also, how much, like, do we not know, too? Like, there's, especially with Hollywood, like, there's so many things that we actually don't know. Yeah, the idea, like, is this going to make it popular again? I think it's still, like, one of the more popular sex tapes on the internet at this point, too. Because, again, it's probably doesn't take very much to get it.
No, and even and Ken said the show's going to make it popular again, too, the tape. And I imagine it is still easy to get because it is referred to as the first viral video. And
it is.
That's nuts. It's just so... And, like, I guess in my brain I want to be like, and how do her, like, children feel about that, and not about the fact that, like, obviously Pam Anderson is Pam Anderson, so it's not like, oh, because like, oh, my mom's body is out there. Obviously her body is out there, but this is a whole other fucking ball game, dude.
Mm-hmm.
I do like, though, I was
And
reading through, like, what this one specific adult film star, Pandora Blake, was talking about with sex tapes, of talking about what a huge part of, and I never really thought about this before, talking completely, not only through with a partner, if you are with them, what you would like to do, what you are okay with doing on camera, when, like, having either a safe word or the ability to be like, I'm gonna stop if I need to stop, and we are going to stop if I have to stop, and making that very clear. And also, something that is important, if you have a selfie stick and you hand it to a partner or whomever people you are with, of telling them angles that you don't want to be taken of you as well. And that is just as important as knowing what you want and what you don't want going into it is also very important. I switched gears a little bit, but now I'm just also thinking about trying to remember all the things about sex tapes. Because I do like sex tapes. Consenting sex tapes.
yes, they're very awesome. Like, it is super on my list of things because I think it's really cool. It's something that, like, how do you be proud of it? And one piece that also goes through my head of the idea of, well, I don't want this to be a part of it. Like, how do you get comfortable that your body has jiggly bits in your body? Like, to decrease some of the spectatoring that can happen is, this is what your body looks like in this different light. And, like, this is not necessarily what you think your body is. Like, how corrective an experience that could actually be for someone being like, shit, I actually look good. How useful that could actually be.
I'm
for
telling
certain
you, yeah,
people,
it
too.
changed my opinion of myself seeing what a partner sees from behind of me mid-set. When I saw that angle, I was like, fuck, I look great. And I very rarely say that. You know what I mean? Hell yeah, Mark in the house, I like Jiggly. Welcome. You're in the right place.
I'm gonna start singing the Jigglypuff song. I'm so sorry.
I was thinking, I only know Jigglypuff from Super Smash Brothers, and then he would swallow everyone, and then I would just pretend to be other people. I'm very bad at video games. Can you tell?
Same. I didn't game for 15 years, and then I finally got back into it, and I'm still just like, how do I button? I don't know.
Well, I don't know how to do any of it.
That's okay. It's okay.
Is that Kirby? Button the coven. It's Kirby. I'm Technohazard, alright? I'm new into the new nerd girl. It is.
And you don't have to prove anything. You don't gotta prove shit.
Guys, thank you, Stark Farts. They're both pink blobs. It's understandable, and I appreciate you saying that. I appreciate. Thank you, guys. I love you guys. You guys are so good. I don't even feel shamed. I feel good. I don't know. I haven't played it in a long time. All I remember is PK Fire because that's what. I'm not even gonna say the name. I don't remember. I'm assuming it's Pikachu, but I don't know.
Pika. I can't. I just, there's too much. My biggest problem with Smash is there's just too much sensory overload. My brain's like, I can't look at anything. I don't know what any of it is. I'm like, where am I?
I have no idea. Now, my question to you guys is, and I don't know a whole lot about it, but I've only watched people in videos of VR porn, and now of being able to be inside. I know that this is probably a whole question for a porn conversation that I am sure will inevitably follow. I don't know if right after this, but I wonder, like, obviously those things are shot specifically for VR because they are specific cameras for VR. Yes, but they have it on them, and now as someone that I've ridden roller coasters with a VR set, the Oculus, I've done like the Beat Saber thing. That's fun. But
we have we got the big bitch. We've got the Steam Index or the Valve Index. That we've got the
if you don't mind me asking, have you tried any of the VR porn?
Yes, what? And I hate all of it.
Why do you hate it? Like, I'm so curious.
So one of the ones that I think Rich showed me in the beginning was like he was trying to find like a female perspective, like female body with a male person. He was like, I want to see what your perspective is. And it was so disconcerting for me because I'm like, that's actually not what my body looks like. If I lay down, that's not what happens. And I was also just like, the person that was in it was not my type. And I was like, oh, I don't want that on top. I couldn't like push it away.
Yeah.
And then he showed me a male perspective, like a male body. And I think that one was strangely a little bit easier because I was like, well, I can't, like, there was still a disconnect even with the first person angle. My thing was because the quality is so good, the visual is really good, but they're also adding a lot of sensory of like the person will like come up behind and like say something and whisper in your ear. And I was like, oh, I didn't like it. It was so creepy. But
and
like the
Ken's asked the question, do you pair it with
good.
realistic toys? And also Snark Farts and asks, is it so you can
Yeah.
look around the room as it's happening, but you are having sex in it, and then you're using a toy so that
have to
you
use
have
a toy.
to. Or you just jerk it, or you just masturbate, or you just... I feel like I would want... For me, if I, in it, was having... I feel like I'd want to use toys. But as someone that, like... It's even too much for me to be in the Beat Saber game, because I'm like, I can't hear anything. I hate this. I hate not having any of my senses. I'm horrified by it. But then I was like, but the sex, like, I feel like I'd have to be completely alone, and I'd be very scared if you can't... Yeah, I know you can just take it off, but you're so submerged in it.
And they do a good job. Like most of the ones, at least I've seen, they're all 360. Like they are filmed. Like if you look around and you do this motion with the headset on, like it's fully 360. It's very, very, very well done. And for a lot of people, it's very disconcerting. For some people, it's really great. Another piece that a lot of people not forget about, but a thing that could be a little awkward is like if you are using a toy that it doesn't match. Like it could be really disconcerting that the things that are happening visually in front of you, because most VR porn is done first person, where you're seeing it as if that was your body. If something is happening to the actor in it and it doesn't match what you're doing to your body, your head is like, wait, what? It's the same reason why if you go to like actual VR experiences and you're walking on like a lava pit, your body is like, danger. The technology is so immersive that it can actually create a lot of disconnect too, and just completely take someone out of it. For me, that's what happens. I'm like, I can't, I hate this. I mostly just look at shoes and get home decor ideas when I'm watching it most of the time.
Ooh. So have you done the one where you're walking, it's like you're walking on a tightrope and over like above buildings? And I almost threw up. I was like, I can't.
Yep.
I think that's what shows how old, like, my age is that, like, that made me almost throw up.
My reason for not liking VR, porn or not porn, is that I have TMJ and just our index hits me in the jaw just the wrong way and it hurts my jaw. Very stupid reason for it. And also, like, I'm giggling and laughing and it just puts a lot of pressure on my jaw. But some of it is super good. Like, some of the VR porn is absolutely amazing. Like technologically,
VR home decor. Now it is like now we're all like, tell me more.
It was
about
real.
VR.
I really still want this fucking lamp. There was a lamp in one of them. I'm like, I'm gonna find this fucking lamp. It's so pretty.
Ooh, and sex is gonna be obsolete, but I guess part of it is like, I know that I've used apps before that have I've watched a partner use an app before that have like essentially like a fleshlight that is Bluetooth
that like matches.
That matches like when you're watching porn, that it mimics it, and that I think I could get down with.
Super fucking cool. Or I've definitely seen and tried like, because there's a way, depending on what VR system you have, of like, you as someone who's not immersed in the thing can actually see on like a computer monitor what the person in the VR porn is seeing, and trying to mimic the action physically with my partner. I've definitely tried that. I get again a little distracted because I'm just like, there's too much sensory detail. But looking at what works best for the person and figuring it out. There's also a huge technological issue too, of a lot of the VR systems require good systems, or some of the porn is only for PC versus Oculus, and a lot of different pieces too. But like, a lot of this shit's also shot in 8K. Like, it is good fucking quality as well.
So curious. I almost want to buy an Oculus just to try. Like, not.
Do you just want to come over? Do you just want to come over on Sunday? I'll show it to you.
Well, the problem is that like Holden, my co-host, has one, but it's like, I'm not gonna do VR porn in front of Holden and his wife and his baby. Like, I think that I gotta. I've asked him, and he's like, no, I haven't tried it. I was like, how do you not? You have it.
You have to just at least
gotta try it.
Yep. And there is also limited, like, what's really fascinating about VR porn is there's limited category. Like, like there's limited categories, like there's limited access because there's so much tech that has to go involved and so much new equipment that has to go involved. There's not as much being produced. So there's not amateur shit at all. But like it changes what your sample size essentially is. Like you only have X amounts of VR porn that you can actually download or grab too. So that's a whole nother piece.
Yeah. No, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to, like, just throw that in there, but I guess part of me is, like, I'm excited for a day, like, wouldn't that be fun to be able to shoot your own VR sex tape and be like, well, Jeff, you're gone for 3 weeks, so here you go, have sex with me, have sex with fake me.
I really just want holodecks, like Super Star Trek, like I want like Riker holodecks, like I want all of that.
Fuck
Wait
my hologram.
And I think we make it. Yep.
I hope so. Because, like, I feel like there's a lot of, Dr. Jordan sent me this clip of was it like a Say Yes to the Dress of this young girl who's 17.
She's 17 years old.
And the dad is like, I'm so proud of her, waiting.
She's waiting, she's pure, and I don't want her to have arms.
She's pure, and, like, I want the dress to have her completely covered because, like, well, like, the young gentleman, like, courted the entire family and all that kind of shit, and I was just like, good lord, and all I could think about was like, man, that is just the opposite of sexy.
Yeah,
I don't know why I started talking about that. I had a reason.
I feel like we're setting us up for next week because, like, when I saw that, just the initial rage at 8:30 in the morning, I was like, she is 17 years old, and you are encouraging her to marry the 17-year-old boy as her father. Like, the rules and regulations and we have about children getting married or children engaging in things, but also the expectation of virginity and marriage and all of the things we've talked briefly about. But I think that is one of those big things of there's just lots of layers connected to it. Like, it was so bad. I feel like it was just 7 minutes of me just sitting and screaming for the most part. Like I could not imagine it.
Yes, I can. Please don't king shame my brain.
I'm sorry. I'm like, okay, good break within it. But it is a culture of like, oh, it's just so bad.
I think it was so. What was I thinking of? It was something about porn. I forget. But I will say that I do think it would be a lot of fun to have my partner fuck me. Oh, that's why I was thinking about it. I was thinking about it because that in relation to, I was reading another article about like a wife that was like, if you really love your husband, you shouldn't allow him to watch pornography. And I was like, that's fucking dumb.
No, that's not really how that works.
Dumb. But then I was like, unless it would be funny if it was just like, what happened to all the porn? And I was somehow able to deep fake my own face onto all of the porn Jeff will ever watch.
Pulling a Charlotte.
I'm like, now he'll never come to anyone except for me. Like, that's terrifying. That's
I feel like
so
that is
scary.
This demonization of porn in relationships. Yet things like Bridgerton and 50 Shades exist. Oh, I still have to watch that fucking. I'll eventually watch it.
No, just watch Bridgerton again. I thought about you. The amount of fun. I'll just never. Holden watching that next to my sister-in-law watching like that, the first like insane sex scene. And he's just sitting there and Natalie, who is just not into that kind of thing, she looks up and she's like, what are you watching? Just like in their living room in the middle of the day. He's like, it's Bridgerton. It's a hot show.
It's a historical depiction. I did appreciate, so spoilers for who haven't watched Bridgerton, it was a really good depiction of pulling out. Like, I appreciated that. Like, great depiction of what pulling out actually was and trying to explain to someone about that. And how that's maybe like a very normal thing within that too. You don't have to completely finish, especially because it didn't have protection at the time. It's interesting.
And also Reagan Piper Rose 100%. I point out hot ladies to my hubby. I'm like, look at her. She's pretty, huh? I think that it is, like, to encourage them, it's like, I mean, I know that we'll talk about this, or watching porn with a partner, or being, like, or, like, sharing, again, long distance for me, or that I will send like, oh, this is what I just came to, and I will send it to him, and then it's like we're coming together, or like, do you want to come to this together? That's kind of like, I've got lots of ideas. We could do a whole long distance relationship thing if you guys want.
Which is, or even long distance, or even the idea of like how to integrate sex into your relationship when you just, no one's got fucking energy.
Or time.
Like, or time. Yep. It's a huge thing.
Yeah. Oh, that's my name. Yeah, they did have protection. They just shove half a lemon in their coochie. You know. Oh, yeah, but in the oven. Yeah, I haven't totally jerked off to Bridgerton like 50 times. It is jerk-offable. And Breaking by Rose, you haven't, or Abe McNeil hasn't seen it. I mean, it's jerk-offable.
It is an interesting... I watched it once and I was just like, I'm bored now. It wasn't enough of it. I was also watching it with my mother, and I'm just like, penis. That's so cool.
Yeah, it's not so... I think... It was one of those that I watched alone, of just like... Because I like being a creep sometimes alone. And that's okay. Not that it is a creep. I think it was a creep of me just being like, yeah!
And to circle back, like, I think for a lot of people, that's what the sex tapes were. Fucking just curiosity at its very root. And a lot of people did not know that it was stolen. Like, a lot of people didn't fucking know at the time.
Right.
They just knew it got released. So, again, ethical consumption of porn, ethical consumption of sex tapes. Because some people do release them.
Yeah, and some people release them on purpose, but most often, I think, I would assume, more often than not, they do not. And, Bun in the Coven, what is the girl euphemism for masturbating if I don't like flicking the bean? Like, those with penises have jerking off, but I feel like there's no casual one for us with pussies. I still say I jerk off. I like the phrase, but also, yeah, getting finger blasted is always fun. Or finger blasting yourself. Personally, I also not a huge fan of the phrase flicking the bean either.
I don't love the like calling clits things like a bud, like any of like the erotic novels of like her bud or her bean. I'm like, just call it a clit, god damn it.
Yeah.
Just flicking the clit. Just call it that.
Yeah.
Just call it what it is.
Yeah. Ooh, Ken's getting up in that moose hoof.
All I think of when I hear moose is Jared Padalecki. I can't.
Okay, so you can't do that.
I can't do that. All
Trouser gravy. Ken's where you coming go. I like it. I very much enjoy it. But I think that I'll probably.
We should do an entire episode of just Googling random Urban Dictionary terms.
I'm always down with that. 100%. Oh, panty pudding. Panty pudding. I love you guys. We gotta get the hell out of here. And I'm excited. So we're gonna talk about porn next week. Is that what we decided on?
Sounds like it.
Fuck yeah!
One thing that's coming up, that one that's coming up a lot with patients, actually, and like over the years, is what happens if you wake up or catch your partner watching porn and jerking off or masturbating? Like, how do you handle that, and what do you do in those moments? Like, making peace with porn to some degree, that it's super not a bad thing.
Personally,
and can sometimes be unhelpful. That's usually my approach.
But that's not everybody's bag, and we will talk about that next week. 100%. Email us any questions you have about porn. Any kind of porn. It has to do with you, it has to do with a partner, it has to do with, like, I know that we've talked about this before when we talked about sex education with young people watching porn, but hit us up at it's Jackie's email at gmail.com, or if you catch your kid jerking in, and don't be like we need to talk about Kevin, which I will always think about, that scene when she walks in her son and then he just stares at her and he keeps jerking off, and you just gotta hope that's not what your kid does.
It's like, hopefully that's not what occurs.
Yeah. A Bun in the Coven, this is great, and we're going to talk about this. How do you not fuck them up and make them feel guilty? Love it. This is, I'm going to write this down.
Don't shame them. But yes,
don't shame them. But
don't shame them.
But also, I'm going to write this down, Bun in the Coven. So that we remember to answer it next week, and we'll talk about it. I love you guys. Thank you guys so much for joining us, and thank you so much, Dr. Jordan. I appreciate it as always. A little bit of yelling, a little bit of getting horny.
That's why the sounds are important.
Oh yeah, baby. I love you guys, and I will be back on Thursday with Lisa Rose. I think I'm introducing Lisa Rose to Dream Daddy on Thursday. So, come hang out with us while we build a daddy that we will consensually Fuck. Hopefully. Hopefully. I love you guys, and I'll see you guys soon. Bye.
Bye.